and she works for M&P, which is a creative staffing agency. So, everyone.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Molly. Super excited to be here. This is my 3rd year doing this. I love it so much. But it's so much more fun when we all have a little bit more energy. I'm glad that y'all were talking. I had Odessa playing, creating a vibe here. But if you could turn to the person next to you, tell them what you had for dinner last night. I'm not kidding, so do it. I know y'all didn't eat that much, so now we're done. Okay. I want this to be interactive. If you have questions, ask me in the middle. We will do Q&A at the end. I have a lot to say. If I run over time, someone yell at me. Victoria yell at me. Victoria's next. But let's get started. So let's see. I work for Mathys-Potestio. We are a boutique creative staffing agency. We are all creative backgrounds that helps other creatives find positions. We have offices in Austin, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boise, and Portland. This is our team. We do a photo shoot every year. If you can find me, I'm up there, in between my 2 favorite pregnant people. So who am I? I graduated Cal Poly in 2014. I had a concentration in web and digital media. I'm not sure if the concentrations are still the same, but you know, we're here. I worked as an in-house designer for Novo, Luna Red, and Robbins. I also worked at Novo as a server and hostess. So being back here is super fun. Being back in the community is great. I moved to Austin in July of 2014. My college roommate, our senior year, she had plans to leave, and she was like, I want to move to Texas. I have family in Dallas, and they said, if you move to Texas, move to Austin. And I had no plans. I was like, sure, I'll go with you. So we packed up a U-Haul, made the move. We didn't have any plans, really. We went out twice before. She had landed a job. I didn't. So once I got there, I worked as a waitress. I was a nanny. And then I finally got a job in an agency as a production assistant. And then I went freelancing for another agency. And then I reached out to M&P to help me find a job. I said, I'm a designer. Can you help me find something? And they said, we don't have any design jobs available, but how would you like to work for us? And I didn't really know what recruiting was. I didn't know that creative recruiting was specific. And I said, sure, I'm 22, I'm in a new city, I don't know anybody, sign me up. And now 5.5 years later, here I am. So what is creative recruiting? Like I said earlier, boutique creative staffing is what M&P does. It is important to us that everyone that we hire within our own team has worked in the industry. We've worked in local agencies. So we understand what it's like to be a creative job seeker, and we know what our clients are looking for when they need to hire creative talent. So it just makes us a bit different than other recruiting companies. There are a lot of recruiting companies in the world. Some are global, some are local. But what we focus on is the creative market. So some people say, what is creative? That is anything you'd really find within a traditional ad agency, along with now the emerging tech side of things of UI, UX, visual design, product design. Some of our clients are like, oh, but you're creative, you don't do UX. That reports to our tech manager. We're like, no, it's still within the creative world. So that is what we work on. Like I said, 5 locations. We're about a team of 30 total. Really small, really collaborative. It's really great to have these different markets because even though I'm in Austin with 2 other really fantastic ladies, if we have candidates that want to move from Portland or LA or Boise, we get to connect all of our markets and all of our clients. So it's really awesome to be able to work with a bunch of different types of people. So, creative talent. This is what I mean by there's a lot. And kind of just a little personal story. When I was in GRC, I loved graphic communication. It was awesome. I mean, the fact that I still want to come back here and do this, I think kind of speaks for itself. But when I was in college, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. I thought kind of because I was in GRC, like I had to be a graphic designer. I was like, well, this is it for me. Like I love design and I love creative and like, so here we go. Like I'm gonna go work for a printing company. But then as I started realizing that my peers around me were just better than me, which is valid. I mean, Adam was a stellar designer and there was Raina and there was Jacqueline and there was Mallory and there was Victoria and all these people. I'm like, damn, I'm not as good as them. Like my brain, I'm not an artist. I'm not a doodler. I'm not as creative as I thought I was. But I do love being surrounded by those kinds of people. So when I graduated and I moved to Austin and I started doing some proactive interviews with companies, I actually went into an agency that I really, really admired, sat down with one of the creative directors. I was so stoked I had an informational interview, and he tore me to shreds. He was like, your portfolio sucks, and like, this is awful, and like, you're not a designer. And I was like, cool, man. Like, thanks. Like, this is great. This is what I thought I was supposed to do. And he's like, you are way more production oriented. You are way more technical. You have a very logical and strategic way of thinking. Like, you are not a design oriented person. And then I remember getting out of that and bursting into tears, calling Adam, being like, what have I been going to school for? But knowing that there's still all of these other positions that you can take your knowledge and your passion for the industry and turn it into something else. And when we have these UX and UI designers, something that we're really seeing in the market right now is knowing the difference between UX and UI and product design and visual design and interaction design and interactive design and motion design. These are all like, you're not really a UX UI designer. Like, these are very separate positions. And knowing that there is a role for you based on the way that you think and the things that you're passionate about. So don't be scared. And if your thing isn't necessarily on here, it's probably out there. We kind of make these up. So some of our relationships and who we work with in all of our markets. Some of our bigger clients, we work with Netflix in LA and San Francisco, or the Bay Area. Expedia, which is Vrbo, we work with in Austin. We have Dell, Airbnb, Nike, we're the #1 supplier in Portland. Adidas, Columbia, everything that falls under the Columbia umbrella, so Sorel and Prana down in San Diego. Under Armour, which Victoria will speak to about you next. Stick around. We have Whole Foods in Austin. We have some really, really awesome brands. And then some of our more smaller brand partners, here's more of them, really awesome. The cool thing about working with all of these different types of companies is we work with a lot of different kinds of people. So what you're probably interested in, we probably work with a company that works for them. And then some agencies as well. Really awesome agencies. This is kind of all over the board of our locations. Really, it's anyone that has a creative team. It's a small boutique company, it's a startup, it's an ad agency, it's a more corporate brand. We work with a large mattress company, which sounds crazy, but they actually have a really cool office and they have a creative need. They need a website, they need marketing materials. So, in turn, that helps us find them candidates. Our backgrounds within M&P, we all come from different kinds of backgrounds, which is awesome because we've all worked in the industry, but the fact that we all come from this really helps us meet with candidates like all of you that are interested in this. We meet with the person that loves the corporate environment, that wants to be 9 to 5 in a cubicle. That's how they focus. That is their mindset. We meet with the guy that has a tattoo on his face. And he's like, I can't work for IBM, face tattoo. And we're like, cool, let's throw you into this agency. So it's really nice that recruiting in-house for one brand, I'm sure is amazing. But I love to work with different types of people, different types of companies. It just kind of brings a lot of diversity into the mix. So now let's talk about you. So you're graduating soon, or in the near future. So now what? Oh my God, so much to talk about still. Okay, my biggest advice is don't be afraid to take a leap. Move somewhere new, do some research, try something else. We're in one of the most beautiful places in the world, which I get. I understand that leaving here is hard, but let me be the very first person and maybe whatever. Don't stop moving to San Francisco, please. Like, for the sake of like your bank account and I mean just any other company in the world, like please, like go do something different. Like that is why we got out of this area for a little bit. It's like we're from San Francisco, we're from LA, and yes, the areas are beautiful and there's some really stellar companies, but there's also really cool companies in other places, whether that is Austin or Nashville or Chicago or New York or Canada or Amsterdam or London. It's like, don't be afraid to go do something else. Like this is the time to go do it. You don't have kids yet. Maybe you do. Anyway, go ahead. There's that. Research some companies and what jobs they have open. There might be a company that you really, really love. Maybe Lululemon is your dream brand. Guess what? Their creative team is in Canada. That's where you're going. But like, look and see what kind of roles they even have there. Like, do they have marketing design roles? Or do you want to be an apparel designer? Do you want to work on their art direction photography team? Start doing some research into brands that you really like and see what kind of jobs they even have within their company. There might also be a brand that you love and they don't have a creative team because they work with an external agency. So, sorry, you might not ever work for that company doing what you want, but go work for the agency that does their work. So it's just do some research. I think a lot of people just set up job alerts of just like, graphic designer in Austin, send me all. But it's like, start looking into companies that you're actually excited about. We see your passion. We see that your design is elevated when you're actually working for a company that you like. Shocker. Make sure your portfolio, LinkedIn, and resume are in a presentable state. Duh. And we will dive into this in a little bit. And LinkedIn is a huge one. I actually look at people's LinkedIns before I look at their resumes. So, we'll get into LinkedIn. Create a meaningful job search. A lot of people, as they start looking for jobs, they're like, I applied to 36 jobs today. I'm like, how? There are not even 36 jobs in Austin right now. So start actually applying to jobs that you want to hear back from. You don't want to ever get a call and they're like, hi, like Katie, thank you so much for applying. We'd love to interview you. You're like, who is this? Like, I don't remember applying. Create an Excel sheet. Start figuring out when you applied, when did you follow up, and start creating a strategic job search for yourself, because it's going to help rather than just like empty LinkedIn applying to everything. Take initiative within your own company. If you're working for a company right now that you might have an internship, or maybe you're already hired on full-time, it's like, figure out what you can already do within your own company. Some of the best business development and growth is within the job that you've already interviewed for and you're already sitting there. So just don't think that you have to bail out of your own team so fast. You might find a growth opportunity where you are hired on as a digital designer. You see that they have a UX UI need. You kind of move yourself into that role. You start building that career, and then you get hired on into a new company. I know someone who's done that, and it worked really well for her. Yeah. Okay, so what to look for in a recruiting company. There are so many recruiters out there, and recruiters can be a really, really great resource for you to get connected to companies that you might not otherwise get connected with. There are recruiting companies that are very tech-focused. There are sales-focused recruiting, creative-focused recruiting. Just figure out if they even hire for the jobs that you want. Don't submit your information to somebody that's not going to be able to help you. So just figure out what to look for in that recruiting company that you're going to work with. Are they going to charge you for your services? We get a lot of questions about this. Like, thanks for meeting with me. Do I owe you? Are you going to take a percentage of my salary? We don't. And if anybody does, run away. Like, that's not good. You don't ever want somebody to be like, congrats, we're hiring you on for $60K and we're going to take 10% of that. That is weird. Our clients pay us completely separately to find you. It's a service for our clients. It's a service for you. We're not going to charge you. So if anybody tries to charge you money, like, call me. It's weird. And tell me who they are. I'll go over there. Are they local to the area that you want to work in? Or are they working across the United States? This is important just because this is how we focus. I only work with the Austin market. And there's nothing wrong with being in LA and working with a New York recruiter, but it helps that we know our clients. We meet all of our clients face-to-face. We go to all of their offices. We meet all of our candidates face-to-face. So is there someone named Katie in here? Because I'm going to keep using the name Katie. There's not a Katie? Emily. Hey. Okay, so Emily comes in, and it's like we get to know her really well, and I know what kind of brand she wants to work for, and I know that she's going to fit really well within a company that I have partnered with. And that's really nice to have that personal relationship instead of just throwing your resume into a company and just seeing if it sticks. And that does happen. It seems crazy. We work with people that are like, thank you so much for meeting me face to face. And we're like, obviously, anyway. What kind of positions do they place? Kind of still tying into the fact of what kind of creative roles do they focus on. You don't want to go through a whole interview process with a recruiting company only to find out that they are only tech focused. And you're like, well, that sucks. Companies that they work with. You can ask recruiters what brands they work for. It's kind of good to know if maybe they work with a company that you really admire and you start to build that relationship with them. And what do they require from you? For us, we meet you face to face. We have your resume, we have your LinkedIn, we have your portfolio. We help you build all of those things. We'll do a general reference check. I had a candidate come to me once and they're like, I was working with a staffing agency and they asked me to upload my social security card before I even interviewed. I was like, okay, please tell me you didn't do that. Like, let's just have some common sense. So make sure that you're not giving away personal information to a global company if they haven't even found you a job yet. Always do research on the companies that they send you. You might hear from a recruiter where it looks like this amazing job and you just say, yeah, sure, send in my resume. But then you start looking at the company, you look at their Glassdoor reviews, you look at where they're located, and you're like, oh, I don't want to commute 6 hours. So do some research before you just say yes to recruiters that are just going to send you opportunities because they will. Do they want to meet you in person? Big thing. Yes. Okay, your resume. Oh my God. Please hold. Okay, keep it to 1 page. I know you guys probably do some kind of resume workshop. That's awesome. Excuse me. Keep it, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Keep it to 1 page. Hiring managers will look at a resume for about 7 seconds. Crazy. So if your resume is 2 pages or they're flipping through it or they're still looking at the fact that you were a swim coach for your high school, that stuff is not relevant anymore. So keeping your resume to 1 page is extremely important. Contact information at the top. Do not put your address on your resume. I don't need to know where you live. My clients don't need to know where you live. You don't need to be sending it to people being like, here's my studio, like whatever. Your email and your phone number is fine. Your LinkedIn, we don't need to know where you reside. If you're creating an online PDF, make sure that your portfolio and LinkedIn links are hyperlinked. I know this sounds weird and maybe like an additional thing, but like if I'm looking at your resume and it pops up through our system, I just want to be able to click it. It takes me to your portfolio. Copying, pasting takes like 4 more seconds and I don't want to do it. So just whatever. You don't really need a summary at the top of your resume anymore. I don't really need to know, it's like, I'm a recent Cal Poly graduate with a passion for graphic design. I'm really looking to get into it. Like, I don't need to know that. Like, that's what's going to be either a cover letter and or a small introduction is for, or it's something that you say in your interview. I don't need to have a summary at the top of your resume. And I'm so sorry if this is contradicting everything y'all teach. List of softwares is great. Keep it up to date, depending on the type of position that you want to get into. Depending on the position that you're applying for specifically, if they have a job description and it says like must have sketch experience, make sure that sketch is on your resume. Make sure you have the experience, but also make sure it's on your resume because these AI softwares that are also going to start filtering through things, if you don't have certain keywords on your resume, like they might just like throw you out immediately. So have your softwares linked on there. Keep your employment in month-year format, so June 2016 to July 2019. It's just a lot of our clients ask this from us, so if it's already done, it's great. And the fact if you have like 2011 to 2014, it's like, okay, were you there like that full 4 years, or was it a couple, just do that. Relevant experience, like I said, it's so great you were a swim coach. That's really cool. I was a swim coach. We can bond over that. But making sure that your resume is not every single job description of every single position you've been in. They should be your accomplishments within every role. Because there's probably somebody else in your company that's also a graphic designer that they could put the same job description, but did y'all really accomplish the same things within that position? So just making sure that your experience is relevant to you and what you're looking for. Save some information for an interview. I had a guy who put external hobbies on his resume and then we had nothing to talk about. I was like, so like, what do you do outside? And he's like, well, you can see on my resume that I like to bike. I'm like, okay, like why is that on your resume? Like that is not gonna help you get this job. Like I tried to ask him something else about him and he didn't have anything else to say. And that was weird. I don't really use cover letters. A lot of our clients don't ask for cover letters and that is because we make personal introductions. If you wanna have a cover letter, don't use the same cover letter for every job. You should be customizing your cover letters per position. I mean, enough said. Oh my God. I have so much to talk about. Okay, portfolios. We can talk after. Call me, email me, I'll be around. Portfolios, again, hiring managers are gonna look on your portfolio, they're gonna open up emily.com. If it is not the vibe that they want or they can immediately see that the UX is not there, they're gonna move on. One of my clients, McGarrett Jesse, they are so fantastic. They look at portfolios before they open a resume. If a portfolio catches their eye, that's when they're gonna start being like, okay, let's look into them. So just keep it clean. Make it easy to navigate. Oh, wow, I didn't even know that was the next one. Especially if you're looking for a UX role. Your portfolio is its own UX project in itself. If I'm clicking on a project and I don't know how to get to the next project or I don't know how to get back to your homepage, like that's not good UX. Make sure that it's easy to click through and easy to see all of your projects. Relevant and recent work that you're proud of. If you click on you're going through your portfolio with a hiring manager and you're like, oh, skip this one, like let's go to the next one. It's like, okay, why is it on your portfolio? We wanna make sure that every single project you have on there is something that you're excited to talk about, excited to show that your role within the project. If you're stuck at inspiration or don't really know how you want your portfolio to look, it's okay to look at a company that you admire, find somebody within their team, find their current graphic designer, look at their portfolio. she got hired, so what does her portfolio look like? And don't copy it, because that's happened and it looks terrible. But you can get some inspiration from people of how did they lay things out and what are the clients that I'm interested in hiring for. Make sure you have an offline version available. Let's say their Wi-Fi is not working. I have friends that have interviewed at Apple or Google, and they do weird, tricky things where they're like, oh, our Wi-Fi is down today, so can you pull up your portfolio? And it's like, ooh. So make sure you have a version of your portfolio available offline, just in case for whatever reason you cannot connect to their Wi-Fi. Don't just have photos on your website. Make sure there is text to describe the project and your role. The top of the site or top of the page should say, this was the project, this was the client I worked on it with. I was a team project, so I worked with Emily and David and Victoria and Brian, but my role was the art director. And then, have the photos and kind of describe things, because if a hiring manager is looking through your portfolio, it needs to speak for itself. Am I talking too fast? Cool. I think the youths can understand. Does it work on mobile and web? Make sure, especially if you are going into a digital or web position, that your portfolio is responsive. And it looks good on both devices. It's huge. Quality over quantity. You're going to come out, you're going to have a lot of student work, and that is okay. But don't throw up every single student project that you have because you think you need to have 6 projects up there. I would rather have you have 3 really, really strong things than 6 projects that you just kind of feel meh about and you want to just click through really quickly. Your LinkedIn, headshot with personality. I mean, a lot of our clients are fun, and I work for a lot of really fun companies, so they don't really need headshots that are like, black and white, suit and tie. And if that is your personality, 100%, that's your personality. But if you're a fun person, if you like being outside, you're all fun people. That's a bad thing to say. If you like being outside, or you are an artist, or you are a rock climber or something, it's okay to have a photo of yourself with your dog or doing something else where it doesn't feel as structured. That's okay. We look for people showing their personalities. A professional title, what you're looking for next. LinkedIn will say, would you like to add this to your title at the top of your page? I had a candidate, love you if you're watching, but her title said Yo Pro. And I was like, what does that mean? She was like, oh, it's young professional. I was like, oh no, that needs to go, right now. And she was like, I'm looking for an account manager role. I'm like, so why doesn't it say account manager? So make sure that your professional title is relevant to what you want in your next position. Because as I use LinkedIn Recruiter, which is the #1 recruiting software that we use, we are going to be doing so many keyword searches and so many title searches that I am looking for a specific person that if I hadn't looked into her LinkedIn a little bit more, she wouldn't have popped up for me because her title said Yo Pro and not account manager. And I needed an account manager. Detailed job history, like I said earlier, make sure it's bullet points of your accomplishments. Keyword searching is massive. In LinkedIn Recruiter, on the back end of it, I am going to do a search for graphic designers in Austin, Texas. Somewhere in their LinkedIn, they have the word sketch, whatever. Because then I'm going to go then LinkedIn is going to bring up every single graphic designer in Austin, Texas that has the word sketch in their LinkedIn profile somewhere. So if I'm looking for that software, it needs to be in there. So build out your LinkedIn as much as possible. Also, weird thing about photos, I recently saw a person that had their headshot photo was a photo of a photo. I'm like, sure you have a selfie somewhere. This is just setting up for LinkedIn Recruiter, making sure you're as searchable as possible. Okay, getting there. Interview tips, research the company, the job description, who you're talking to. Going back to LinkedIn, look that person up on LinkedIn. And some people are like, well, I don't want them to see that I looked them up. I'm like, no, you want them to see that you looked them up 43 times. It's good to know who you're talking to. I've talked to people where I looked at their LinkedIn, scrolled all the way down to their high school, and realized that we went to high school a few years apart from each other. So really look up the person that you're talking to, the company, look up their social media, look at if they've been in the news recently. Really do your research. Don't just jump into a job interview. If you're not early, you are so friggin' late. So please, please be early. I've had people be late to job interviews because they're like, I couldn't find parking. I'm like, you are going to downtown Austin. Of course you couldn't find parking. This is why you need to leave an hour before. You're there early, go to a coffee shop. That's massive. Maybe that's just a freaky personal thing. But for phone and video interviews, go somewhere quiet. Don't step out of work and be on the street and there's sirens going by. If you need to, go to a public library and rent a conference room or sit in your living room. Do something where it's nice and quiet. You have good self-service. There's not your cat running around behind you. And it's okay to have your notes in front of you. This is the perfect opportunity to cheat. Have company notes, have your own resume in front of you, because they can't really see you unless you're on video. But know where things are, be organized. You don't have to just wing it. Anecdotes prepared with the job description. If you have their job description, they're like, we're going to really be looking for somebody who can hit the ground running. It'll be on your job descriptions, trust me. Have a story prepared where you hit the ground running with a company before, because then you can just kind of bring that up, and they're like, oh, Emily is so good at running. What else? Don't be afraid to listen. Hear what they have to say before you ramble. My boss had to tell this to me. He's like, you need to listen to people more. I'm like, why? I love talking. This is so fun. Which is great, but listen to the question. Listen to what they are asking you before you just start answering the question. Have questions prepared to ask. It's a huge red flag at the end of an interview when they say, do you have any questions for me? It's like, no, I'm good. You should always have questions to ask. And if you can't really think of them beforehand, it's okay to bring in a notepad and write down questions along the way. And if they're like, you good? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna have a question at the end of this. So I wanna make sure I remember it. It's a good thing. So have that. Are you prepared for sneaky interview questions or situations? One of my best friends was in Austin. She was in a job interview and they said, tell me a joke. And luckily she had a joke ready. There are companies that it's not about how you really answer it, it's about your response to the question. Do you panic? Are you bad under pressure? Can you think of something last minute? Because that probably says something about their company culture. They don't care what you say, unless it's bad. Company culture is important. Ask them why they like to work with the company. Do they do team happy hours? Do they do bonding activities? Like, do they work 9 to 5, or you know that you live a little bit south, so it's gonna take you an extra time to get there? Like, it's important to know the company culture before you just jump into it. Working from home and flexibility conversations. We are in an industry that is very, very lucky to be able to work remotely, and that's super rad. But do not feel so entitled to jump into a company where you wanna work remotely all the time. Right now, it is so important. You're in such a stage of your career that you should be learning from the people around you. You don't really, unless you really want to work 100% remote and that is how you focus, that's awesome. I totally get it. But going into a company where you're there and I'm like, oh yeah, I'd love to work for you, but I only want to work remote. They're like, well, then you don't really want to work for us. You want to do the job, but you don't want to be a part of our team. So making sure that if you do have questions about remote or flexibility, maybe it's down the line once you've proven yourself that you're a value within that company. Follow-ups and thank yous. Write a handwritten note. And I know that sounds crazy, but like I still write handwritten thank you notes for everything. This is huge. Say thank you for people taking the time to interview you. And then ending also your conversations with confidence. Don't finish a sentence, be like, so yeah, that's that, you know? Like, you say your statement, you finish it, period, what's the next question? Okay, last thing, getting to know the market that you're moving to. According to CNN Money Calculator, they came out with this really great thing in 2018. I don't 100% agree with some of the statistics, but I think it's a good standing point for relocation. So, y'all are telling me that like you want to come out of college and you want to make, $70K. First of all, not going to happen. But also, CNN is a great thing where you can say like, I live in Austin, Texas. I want to live in San Francisco. I make $55K in Austin right now. Cost of living in SF is going to be over $108K. Why? Because housing is 242% more. Don't move to the Bay Area. That's all I'm telling you. Another one. I live in Austin, I want to live in New York. I make $55 in Austin, this is how much you need to live in New York. Or that's going to be the relevant salary. So if you're moving, if you're relocating, know what the numbers look like. In reverse, you live in New York and you're like, I'm an art director, I make $140K, I would really love to be around that range in Austin. Not going to happen. Why? Because housing is 422% more in New York City. I am not going to get you that salary in Austin. So it's just being aware of the market. A few more. Live in Long Beach. I want to live in Nashville. I make $55 in LA. You'll make about $35 in Nashville. Cost of living. I live in Long Beach. I want to move to Portland. $55 in Long Beach is about $51 in Portland. So there are places that are comparable. Just kind of knowing and understanding that if you're moving and if you had an internship in San Francisco, that you're probably not going to get that same salary where you move to, and setting your expectations ahead of time. Okay, any questions? I have like so little time because Victoria's amazing Under Armour presentation is next. But questions? Yes.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
When you mentioned using bullet points for like LinkedIn,
Yes.
do you recommend bullet points over like the paragraph format and like all mediums, like resume as well?
I like bullet points just because they're really going to stick your accomplishments within that position instead of telling a story, right? A paragraph should flow nicely, and a bullet points really give you that opportunity to just be like, I accomplished this and this and this and this, and they don't really have to tie together. Personal preference, but I think bullet points are a great way to really outline all of your accomplishments.
And then second question, for the thank you notes, like the handwritten ones, do you prepare them in advance before, or do you like mail it to them afterwards?
No, mail it to them afterward. Because it's fun to also tie in. Maybe you meet somebody that you had a relevant story with, and you really want to tie that into your thank you note. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was great to learn about your dog. Hope he's doing great. See you later. And it's kind of nice where it's not just that standard thank you note, where it's like really tying things in. Send it off later. It'll get them they'll get in a few days. That is your follow-up. Maybe they were so busy they forgot. We're like, damn, we need to write her back right now.
Do you recommend seniors that are graduating within this quarter or the next to get involved with creative recruiters as soon as they can, or what does that time?
Great question. Our timelines are, we move fast. Our clients come to us, everybody needs somebody to start yesterday. We do have people that are kind of looking and taking their time, but majority of our clients come to us and they're like, we need a graphic designer to start in 2 weeks for a 4-week project that we have. Or we're trying to look for someone full-time, our interview process has started, send us who you got. So I think it's important to get everything started now, do your research now, but as you start applying for things or start talking to recruiters, set your timeline, set your expectations of like, I'll talk to you now, but I'm not gonna be in Austin until June of 2020. It's never too early to start, but just make sure they know when you're actually gonna be there.
My question, you may have just answered it, but M&T, do they provide only contract work for some period of time, or do they also provide full-time employees indefinitely?
I forgot to say that. So what I say all the time, and I forgot. We do contract work, contract to hire, and direct hire positions. We don't do a lot of part-time work, and we don't do a lot of freelance work. We never say never because things happen, but our contracts are generally 40 hours a week on site with the team. It just could be a 3-week project, or it could be a 12-month project. And if you're on a 12-month contract with us, you're a W-2 employee of M&P. You are on our payroll. You get our health, dental, vision benefits, PTO, and 401k. So if we have you working out at a brand and you're there for 12 months, you're fully covered under our insurance after 60 days of working. Yes?
I'm curious what your role like specifically is at M&P.
Yeah.
A little bit more job description specifically.
Totally. Still figuring that out. No, I am a senior account manager, creative recruiter. So I do a little bit of everything. I do my business development, I do my client relationships, and that is the account manager side of things. I find my own business, I get to know them, I manage that, I maintain it, and then I also get to do the recruiting side where I get to know all of my candidates. So that when my candidates are looking for a job and I know my clients have a job, I can play matchmaker from there. So my day-to-day is a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of in-person interviews, a lot of therapy for people. Like the amount of people that have broke down crying to me, like I am a licensed therapist. And it's emotional. Job searching is emotional. So we just do everything that we can to help people out. So I really do everything involved, and I also help people build their resumes. I help people do portfolio updates. I help people get prepared for interviews. So it's really finding the job. I get the job description. They tell me I need a graphic designer for $50K to start next week. I find my graphic designers. I introduce them. They get interviews. They get a job. Everyone's friggin' happy. That is what I do. Anyone else? One more, unless I have one more. Come on. Emily? No? Okay. No? Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.